Real, but I hear you talk about like your journey of how you started out, right? And I saw an interview, and I know you said you used to didn't say the word nigga.
Nah.
But you got that word nigga, like that's your word, like you got that trademark. Like how did that come about?
I inherited the word from the old niggas. I used to think nigga was a derogatory term till I met a nigga. So I tell people all the time, you don't know no nigga. You don't know nobody who was born with the word N-I-G-G-E-R on their birth certificate. And when they died, it was N-I-G-G-E-R on their birth certificate. There are still some niggas left today, like my grandmother. She's in the 80s, 84, 85. The old man who taught me about niggas, he's 78 right now. He called himself the last nigga. He was born in 1945. That's where you see 1945 on his ring. You see nigga nation. So we was taught about the African, the slave, the African slave, then the slaves. The slaves was called nigger, and nigger is a bad word. Then you got, from the nigger, you had colored. From colored, you had Negro. From Negro, you had black. From black, you had African American. And then today, you got the niggas and the hip hops. Now, when you say niggas, you got N-I-G-G-A. We niggas. Real nigga. Street nigga. Thug nigga. So we niggas. We could never be a nigger. For one, we don't know how to grow food. We can read, they couldn't, so we could never be a nigger. So for a white person to call us a nigger, it's really a compliment, because those are the greatest people to have ever been born and lived on earth. They're the only human beings on earth who haven't done nothing wrong to nobody, and they got mistreated. They never started a war. Those are the only, and those niggers didn't come from Africa. The Africans who was brought here, the first generation was African slaves. The second generation was African slaves. The third generation was niggers made in America, because they stopped importing slaves into the country, because the world said, okay, we're not going to do this anymore. What did America say? Fuck the world. We go make niggers right here. We're going to make breeding farms. We're going to call them motherfuckers. So there was no longer, when they started breeding slaves here, these aren't Africans.
Thanks.
These aren't Africans. Yeah. These are not indigenous people that was already here. These motherfuckers was made by the white man. And who give them a name? The white man. What was his name? Nigger. It wasn't Bob. It wasn't Jim. You didn't get the slave master's name. See, that's the biggest lie told her. You got your slave master name. Slave master didn't give you no name, nigga. You was nigger. Mark Twain gave us a name. And that's just for my educated niggas who really know about America. Up until Mark Twain wrote the book, Huckleberry Finn, the nigger didn't have a name. Come here, nigga. Die, nigga. Fuck wrong with what you looking at, nigga? He didn't have a name.
Yeah, no, that's real. That's real.
Now, his mama and them gave him a name. Chicken shit George. Because George knew how to fuck with the chickens on the plantation, so they called him Chicken George. Come here, Chicken George. That's the slave plantation. But when he leave that motherfucking plantation, he a nigga. He can't go to the next plantation and say, my name George Boss. Nigga, you better shut your motherfucking ass up, nigga. So he couldn't say that, right? So those people never had a problem with being a nigga. They was born nigger. They want us, black people of today want us to believe that the people before us had a problem with being called nigger. They had no problem with being called nigger. They just didn't want to be hung and mistreated. The slave who was born into slavery didn't know slavery was, don't know nothing before that, right? So let me stay on topic. So the Africans had a language on their plantations. That's why when you watch the movie Roots, they kept calling Kunta the Geechee man. Come on now, Geechee man. They don't talk to that Geechee man. So the Africans didn't really bond and form with the nigger slaves. They had two different mindsets. The African was conquered and enslaved. The black man showed up and it was slavery. Born His mother taught him this is the way, you do what he said. So he knew nothing other than to submit to slavery. So those people couldn't read, they couldn't write. So why do we believe that they took the white man's God? They couldn't even read the Bible. So why would we be rejecting their God? They couldn't read the Bible. They couldn't read the Quran. They couldn't read. So they didn't have a religion. But boy, they sung songs and their spirit moved and they looked up at the sky and they talked. Boy, they had a spirit. When Harriet Tubman was escaping, she didn't have no motherfucking paper saying go that way. She didn't know which way. They said, listen, keep the river to the right of you. Keep the sounds of the river to the right and follow that. How much they didn't know? She used to pass out. And wake up, and they be saying, what, Harriet? They heard the dogs barking.
They gone.
Guess what she say? They saying, which way do we go? Go that way. And she was right every time. The spirit leading her. The spirit leading her. Them people that have no book, homie.
You feel like we being misled by the
like a motherfucker. Woodrow Carter Wilson say it's the miseducation of the Negro, that we're being miseducated. He wrote a whole book about it. So let me stick to the niggas. So the niggas knew how to grow food. The nigga knew when to look at that motherfucking season and that sun and know when to start growing food. The nigga knew how to build houses, but he didn't know the white boy algebra and mathematics. He knew how to fix the tractor. He knew how to fix the plumbing. If the radio broke, he can fix anything in the house, but he can't read English. You know why? He didn't give a damn about that white boy words. He didn't give a damn about reading that white boy word. He just wanted to be left alone. Not beat on, not hung on, not spit on. Left alone and provide for his family where he was. He didn't want to go move up next to master at the house. He didn't want to sit on the porch and drink tea with master. He didn't want to do none of that. He didn't believe in Dr. King's dream. That was the Negro with that dream. The Negro said, I want to be white, Daddy. I want to wear a suit. I don't want to wear them ugly coveralls like you, Daddy. Look at your shoes hanging, Daddy. No, Daddy, I want to put a tie on. So that was the Negro. When the niggas got out of slavery, they went over there and stayed over there. And they put their head down and they worked. They stayed with their family. They was uneducated, but they had land. They had chickens. They had cows. They could eat out their own backyard. They can process their own food. They didn't go to that white man for nothing. The white man used to come buy chicken and bacon from the nigga. White boy used to didn't know how to do nothing. So now, here come Dr. King with his dream. Let's go join them. The nigga said, this little boy crazy. See, y'all gotta go study history. The elder black people who was called nigga did not like Dr. King. That was the foolish thing for you to, why would we go live with our enemy? And they go spit in our food like we used to spit in their food when we was in the kitchen. And why would we go do that, boy? They thought he was crazy, and he was, because that was his dream. Because when he was a kid, his grandmother told him, or his mother, he had a white friend, she said, you can't play with him. So that was his dream. If you go listen to that I have a dream speech. It was a nightmare for the niggas to leave our restaurant, to go sit over at their counter and get hit upside our head just so we can sit there. We got our own restaurants, young blood. So when the white man realized, okay, we're gonna enslave them economically by taking down the Jim Crow signs and segregating, desegregating, integrating, right? When they all started in the beginning, the fight was equal rights and equal protection under the law. It wasn't about eating in no white man restaurant. It wasn't about riding a bus with no white boy. It was about, man, I want the same rights as you. If I start a business, you burn my business down, you go to jail too. You come rape our women, you go. So it was about equal rights and equal protection under the law, something we still fight for. But we got integration. We can go to school with white kids. We can kiss on a white girl, never be hung. But we still don't have equal rights and equal protection. That's why, that's why the Asians do and we don't. The Asians have equal rights and equal protection, but we don't. So the nigga have always been the strongest out of all of us, even though he was enslaved. We think, oh, I would have never been enslaved. Man, we weak in the motherfucker. We couldn't have endured slavery. We say what we would have done, but we're still under slavery today. We're digital slaves. So we doing just what the slaves did. Got in line with with the times. We're digital slaves now because everybody else is making money off our slave labor, our digital labor, and we're not making a dollar because we don't understand that we're the new slaves. We're volunteering to be slaves. People laugh when I said that years ago. I said, black people are going to volunteer to be slavery. Go back to slavery. What you mean? Our kids are not skilled like the niggas. Food prices is high, right? Niggas can't cook. They use processed food, microwaves. Young niggas can't barbecue. They can't start a fire. So when things get rough in America, because it's going to get rough, I need a job. Niggas gonna start saying, I work for food. You're gonna volunteer. Like they do with the day labor job. Nigga go stand outside. That's what it's gonna be like. It's not gonna be nobody hitting you with a whip saying, come here, nigga. The conditions are gonna create something where when you go on a job, your supervisor gonna mistreat you your whole time. You can't tell nobody. Just like slavery. When he see his kind come in, guess what he gonna do? Hey, come here. He go take care of his kind and tell you and your kind to get back. We're already seeing that.
So let me ask you this: do you think we can get back to that point of being the original niggas? You know what I'm saying, or the Negro man? For
one, when the last time you talked to a nigga?
No.
They probably like, oh no, though.
But they still can talk, and they are a wealth of knowledge that we don't even talk to. See, I've been talking to the niggas the last 12 years. That's why you hear me say nigga this, nigga that, nigga this, because I understand that we are not African descendants of slavery. We ain't. We the seeds of the nigga slaves. We the seeds of the nigga slave. We are a nation of people who are trapped in bondage, right? We was made, homie. We wasn't brought here.
That's deep.
We was made. We trapped in bondage, a nation of people trapped in bondage. We have no name. We want to be black, colored, Hebrew, Muslim, nigga. We niggas. Niggas, seed of the niggers. Nigger slaves. So we don't have a name. We don't have a religion. Well, you can't be a nation of people to get reparation if you don't have an identity nor a religion. We don't even have a flag. So how can they reparate us in anything when we haven't even been identified yet?
I see where you're going with this.
Come on, homie. So niggism. Yeah. We don't read nobody books. We just believe in the spirit of God. The spirit, homie. If I'm locked in a cell and I'm thinking about killing myself at 13, 14 years old, and these white folk won't give me no Bible, how do I access God?
Close your eyes and pray.
What if I ain't know how to pray? What if my mom didn't teach me how to pray? How do I access God? By the Spirit. Not that book.
Because it's already in us.
Well, for that book, I get played on with the book. For one, what if I can't read? What if I can't read to comprehend? What if my reading comprehension is also low? I can't never understand the Bible. And I got to rely on this man who could be a pervert, who could be, to give me a God, to give me his God from his point of view. How else do I, so I got to be able to see. Some people a living testament of their God talk, and most people aren't a living testament of their God talk. That's why they talk it and can't walk it. So we could never get back to those people. For one, we don't even understand what they went through.